Time now for sports on 104.7 The Cave. Here's Ned Reynolds.
Mike, the intern, Ned Reynolds, in the studio on a Tuesday morning. Normally when Ned comes in and he's in a mood like this, it's because it's cold outside. But there is something actually a lot worse than the weather today.
Yeah, it was a very sad day yesterday when we learned of the passing of Dr. Edsel Matthews, who is really an icon in the Ozark sports scene. He'd been around, he's my age, 83, and he had done so much in his career, been suffering from an illness for quite a while, and passed from the scene yesterday at the age of 83. He was really a giant on the Ozark sports scene, both as a coach and as an administrator. He was assistant coach to Bill Harding for a number of years at Drury, and then took over the head coaching job in the early 1970s, and he took Drury into national prominence in the NAIA. As a matter of fact, his last year, 1978, Drury was number one in America. Got knocked out of the national tournament, I think, in the quarterfinal round. And Edsel said, I had enough of this. Turned it over to Jerry Kirksey, and with that same team, Kirksey won the national championship the final year. Meantime, Edsel was appointed as the athletic director for the Springfield Public School System, and he held that position for a quarter of a century, 25 years. In that time period, Edsel was a very creative guy, very smart individual. He decided to resurrect the long-dormant Tournament of Champions, but instead of having it just local teams, he put it on a national scale, brought in Christ the King from New York City and St. Raymond's from New York City, and from that very first year, it was bonanza here at the Hammond Student Center, and now, of course, at the Great Southern Bank Arena. Huge draw, and Edsel was the creator of that. He did an awful lot. When he stepped down from the public school system in the early 2000s, went back to Drury, became really the director of fundraising, but in a sense, their athletic director as well. And in that time period, oversaw Drury's move from NAIA to the NCAA Division II, which is not easy. Did establish the fundraising for the O'Reilly Family Event Center. He just was a very creative individual and a man who had Drury as the forefront. An SMS grad. His dad was the basketball coach at SMS for many years. But Edsel was he was a mover and a pusher and a shaker, and he got things done. He left us a couple of days ago at the age of 83. The funeral services will be at the Northside Christian Church on Thursday starting at 9 a.m. Very sad note, Edsel Matthews leaving us at the age of 83.
And not just, I mean, you are 110% right about the sports side of it, but when you talk about the Student Center and you talk about what is now the JQH Arena in Drury, and from my perspective, of course I played sports and I love sports, but from the musical and the entertainment perspective, he was able to help put Springfield on the map and bring in national touring bands in the 70s. Which is because of that stuff, which is incredible.
He created venues for them, and that was the key. You have to have somebody who's a forward thinker, which Edsel, of course, was, but you also have to have the financial help. He knew the Morris family very well, got them involved in the Tournament of Champions, and he knew the other big donors, especially the ones from Lebanon, and got them involved in the O'Reilly Family Event Center. The name speaks for itself. It's the O'Reilly family. But Edsel had that particular knack for getting people to join him on that team and make the financial commitment, and it was a very serious financial commitment to do all of these things. He really will be missed. Even at the age of, in the 80s, he was still out there getting things done for Drury University and doing them in the proper way.
That's good to hear. And again, I do not undersell the fact what this guy brought to our community just in that forward thinking, because had we not had him, we probably not have these venues, wouldn't have had all these great shows and great teams and great memories. And so thank you, Doc, for leaving that with us. The last night, Monday Night Football game in a very cold stadium in Denver, Colorado. I think I want to say I had it at like 43 was my over-under. And it was like 74, I think, by the end of the game, which is just incredible what's going on with these two teams right now.
When you take a look at the numbers, you can understand why. Jameis Winston, who is an old pro, been around pro football for a number of years now, but he is the second-string quarterback at Cleveland. Their starters out for the year. Jameis Winston threw 58 passes last night. 58. Now, this is a cold night at Empower, I think is what they call it. Empower Stadium at Mile High or whatever it is, the new name they have for it. 58 times he put the ball in the air, completed 34 of them, 34 of 58, and this is astounding. 497 yards, 4 touchdowns, but also 3 interceptions. And there is the key. Great night for Winston, big night for the Cleveland Browns, but 3 picks. And those 3 picks were extremely costly. Denver wins 41-32 in a wild game. Jerry Jeudy, who is an outstanding all-pro wide receiver, had been with Denver, traded to Cleveland during the offseason, came back, and he grabbed, I think, 9 passes for 200 and some yards and a couple of touchdowns. But the key is the defense, and Denver had it. Bo Nix had just an average night, only threw for 1 touchdown, and only, I think, completed 19 passes, something like that. But the fact is that Denver played steady football, played the defense, and wins the game 41-32 despite an offensive explosion by Cleveland.
So we do know what kind of defense we've got in Denver, and we face them in our final regular season game at the beginning of January. So that's going to be a very interesting way to conclude the season. Hopefully it won't matter for us, but we will see. It also, again, is playing into my theory that they're giving us a whole lot of tape to watch before that game. So we should have a pretty good plan and hopefully some great guys back on the team. College basketball doubleheader at Drury yesterday as well. What happened?
This is the Highway 13 catfight between Drury and Southwest Baptist, 2 blood rivals. And interestingly enough, Drury wins the doubleheader, wins both the ladies and the men's game, but they do it in really similar fashion. Both teams played rather sluggish in the first half, come out in the second half and put it away. In the ladies' game, Drury went on a scoring binge of about 12-0 and won the game 84-70 over Southwest Baptist. The men's game, similar story. Drury, the lead, bounced back and forth in that first half, but in the second half, the Panthers turned it on, and Drury defeated Southwest Baptist 86-67. So 2 victories for the Drury Panthers over Southwest Baptist, which is a conference rival, Great Lakes Valley Conference, and Drury wins at least the first matchups, if they have any others forthcoming, in the Highway 13 catfight.
So kind of a interesting question that's popped up, the rankings this week in college football. These are not the final, right?
The finals will be next week. Mm-hmm. This is what's called the penultimate finals, the next to last ones coming up. But these are very important because the next ones that they put out, and why do you have a 6th one? All the college games are over. Aha, they aren't. That's just it. There are conference championship games going on. And of the 10, and there are 10 conference championships, 5 of them could have a direct impact on what these rankings will be. And it's Big Ten, of course, with Penn State playing Oregon, and here you have Arizona State and Iowa State playing for the Big 12. That's just a couple of them. But they all could have a bearing, especially the Southern Methodist Clemson Atlantic Coast Conference Championship game. So the committee waits, but the next and last ones are tonight. And what's really interesting, Mike, is does Alabama get in? I think they do. But we'll find out. There are 12 teams which will vie for the national championship. It's new this year, 12 teams, 5 through 12, and that's the seedings, and that's all what will be decided by the committee. 5 through 12 will play each other starting on December 20th and 21st, and they will play at the home sites of the higher-seeded team. After that, the quarterfinals, semifinals, bowl games. They're all decided in bowl games. And then the championship is in Atlanta on January 20th. So we have a long way to go in the college season, but a big night tonight to find out who is likely to be in.
First, I got 2 questions. What kind of finals did you call these? The second to last.
Penultimate.
I don't think I've ever heard that word before.
That one up.
I know. Thanks a lot for culture this morning. 2, if you do me a kindness, after all this is said and done, let's try to remember, and that's probably going to be hard for you and I, but let's try to remember to do some comparison to see if this new form of the playoffs and the bowl has increased viewership from the past.
I don't think there's any question it will because of the number of teams involved.
Possible.
But more than that, it increases the revenue.
Yeah, big time. But I want to see just because for guys like me, like I'm a Wildcats fan, we were going to get a bowl, but it's not going to be great. am I going to be interested? Because when that happens, you're kind of like, yeah, okay, it's over.
Well, the alums will be.
Yeah, we'll see. Either way, Ned, you have a wonderful Tuesday, and I will see you tomorrow.